So, it's looking increasingly more likely that we're going to be getting TBC Classic sometime relatively soon, and following the success of my TBC prep guide, I decided to make a few more videos on TBC. And the one that seemed to jump out to me as the best place to start is 5 reasons as to why I am hyped for TBC, and I realised that a lot of the reasons that people are going to think of for why you're going to be hyped for TBC are fairly obvious. You know, we're going to get new content and the level cap's going to increase and yada yada yada. So I thought instead I'd bring out a video on the 5 reasons that are less obvious and things that people might not have heard of or people might not be thinking of as things that were introduced in TBC that have also got me a little bit excited to play it. So let's dive into it with number 5. So, in at number 5 we have Transmutation Master. Now, Transmutation Master, a lot of people don't remember, was introduced in the Burning Crusade, and it's what allows in retail for alchemists to be able to get procs for additional items of what they are crafting for free, essentially. Now, I really like this because obviously, as many of you know, gold making is the forefront of my mind when it comes to WoW playing, but also it does add just a little bit of flavour to what you're doing in that it can often just be really dull to log on a character for the sake of doing your transmute, only to just go and sell it. It's a bit, there's no excitement there, you know exactly what's going to happen before you begin. This just adds that little extra layer to it. It does require that you do a little questline that basically involves the hand-in of 4 primal mites, which are a craft that you're going to be doing a lot of when you can as an alchemist, anyway in the Burning Crusade. But it will be quite expensive to get done, but when done, it's a very minor perk, but it is a good perk nonetheless and something I'm looking forward to, so I've decided to put it here at number 5. So at number 4 we have daily quests. Now, it was very tempting to simply put the entirety of the Isle of Keldernas on here, but I figured that was a bit too obvious and didn't really suit what I was going for with this video. But in truth, if you want to take this one as simply being everything on the Isle of Keldernas, then by all means do so, but daily quests are what we're mainly focusing on here, as this was their first true integration into WoW. Now, daily quests do become monotonous, and they have been overused for an extended period of time throughout the length of retail. However, when they were first brought out, they were actually a lot of fun, had quite a bit of variety, and also served a purpose. That purpose being the ability to get gold into the pockets of players who needed it who weren't particularly interested in gold farming. So while not perhaps the main use that I'm going to find for it, it does also provide reputation, which is going to lead me nicely into point number 3.
You are not prepared!
So, point number 3, we have reputation grinding. Now, reputation grinding is of course not something new to TBC, it is very much present in Classic. However, what is new to TBC is how enjoyable rep grinding can be and the nature of the rewards that you are going to be getting from it. Now, with a few very niche exceptions, rep grinding in Classic is pretty much a ridiculously boring, monotonous task that is unbelievably time consuming to get something that is usually just a crafting recipe for a single thing that you might need, and it's generally something that people don't really want to do. Now, when it comes to TBC, a lot of your pre-raid best in slot is going to be got simply from the vendor when you get to a certain standing with your reputation of any given faction that will obviously vary by your class. And beyond that, getting this reputation is something that is more going to happen a large portion through natural gameplay as opposed to going out of your way to kill a particular certain type of mob like you often find in Classic, and quite frankly is one of the few, admittedly very few things that I don't like about Classic, and I'm looking forward to the change in TBC. Now in at number 2 we have the Badge of Justice. Now Badge of Justice is honestly the thing that is just super fantastic that I am looking forward to, and quite frankly could easily have been number 1 if it weren't for the fact that, well, what's in number 1 exists. Now, Badge of Justice, for those who don't know, is a currency that allows you to make purchases from a vendor in Shatrath for gear of a wide variety of types and slots that it will take, and you can kit out your character pretty well for at least quite a few slots on any given class using Badge of Justice. Now, these currencies are farmed in 5-man heroic dungeons, meaning that you can keep up to date throughout pretty much the entirety of TBC, at least for some slots, with just doing the 5-man heroics on farm. Now, this is something that I massively prefer to raiding. I am not really into raiding all that much. I used to be back in the day, mainly back in TBC when it was originally out, so perhaps it's something I'll get more into there as opposed to Classic, or definitely compared to retail. But if, like me, you are someone who vastly prefers 5-mans over doing the raids, or maybe you simply just don't have time to do the raids, you're not going to fall as horribly behind with your gearing as you would in Classic. Beyond this, of course, it does also mean it's much more alt friendly. If you find yourself with multiple level 70s and want to keep them all geared, it's much more easy to do by virtue of these currencies that you are able to farm in the 5-mans than it would otherwise be, and certainly more so than it is viable to do so in Classic WoW, and that gets it number 2 on this list. Now, in at number 1, we have the Netherwing Drakes. Now, I know this is not as massive of a gameplay element as some of the things that we've discussed earlier, but this is my list and this is what I'm most excited for, and as a result, it's going to come in at number 1. Now, in Classic, you do have a variety of mounts, but of course they are all limited to being ground mounts, and the vast majority of available mounts are really dull, usually coming in the form of horses, or maybe the odd wolf if you are of the Horde. Now, this does take a natural big progression with TBC with the introduction of flying, because of course even a griffin is pretty spectacular when compared to a horse. But taking it up another few levels from there, in my opinion, are the Netherwing Drakes. Now, these drakes are attainable once you get to Exalted with the Netherwing faction, which is going to be a series of dailies and also some item collection from around the Isle in which they are represented. You do need to complete a short quest chain in order to be able to unlock these and start the rep grind, but from there is pretty much just a waiting game, and I'm not particularly excited to do the rep grind. It's not the best, it's not the worst, but I am excited to be once again getting me the Netherwing Drake mounts. Now, when I was originally playing all those years ago, these Netherwing Drakes are what kept me interested in the game when I might otherwise have put it down, and then all of what's happened since, including this YouTube channel, wouldn't have happened without these drakes, because I simply think they look that fantastic. Maybe time hasn't been too kind to the models, but I think a lot of things have aged considerably worse, and they are, without a doubt, my number 1 pick for what I am most excited about in TBC Classic when it arrives. But that's going to about do it for today's video, guys. I do hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do consider liking the video, and why not subscribe to the channel? It would help out a great deal, and you would be able to keep up to date with any future TBC videos that I bring out, as well as all of my gold guides and any other content that I decide to deliver. But for now, guys, that's going to about wrap it up. I do hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Later.